Hello and welcome back to another Space Engineers showcase video. In today's video, we're looking at another walking mech, and this one you might recognize from Lost Planet. It's called the GTT-01 Nida, or Nida, whatever you want to call it, but it's this lovely thing over here. So this is essentially a walking mech frame where you sit on top rather exposed, but it does ultimately mean there's a lot less moving parts, so there's a lot less things that could go wrong in Space Engineers, but it is true to how it was in Lost Planet. Pressing F10 and finding it in the spawn menu, the GTT is 111 small blocks, using the Heavy Industry, Sparks of the Future, Wasteland and Warfare 2 DLC packs. We've got a tiny bit of information about it on the Steam Workshop page, which is where it says it's an imperfect recreation of the GTT-01 from Capcom's Lost Planet series. So give this thing a thumbs up, move all around towards the very front, have a quick look around the outside, we'll then test it out to see what it can do, then I'll walk it around and maybe just send it over a cliff edge, which is conveniently nearby. Coming all the way back over to where it just was, I had to move quite a distance for that, I should have gone the other way. But at the very front, this is what we get for the GTT-01. So we can see a rover cockpit to drive this thing around, and like I said, it is rather exposed, so be ready to be shot out of this by any kind of automated turrets. Just in front of it, we got a couple steel blocks for some added protection. Then on the left and right hand side, we can see some great use of our rotors that come across onto our gatling guns. These gatling guns can be partially moved up and down to help aim this thing at flying enemies. And here we are with the grass now removed, and we can clearly see how the legs have been set up. So in the middle, we've got ourselves a cargo container that comes across onto a rotor, onto some steel blocks acting as the thigh part, that comes onto a blaster edge block, to a hinge, that comes down to a battery which has been covered up by some armoured panels, then that comes down once again to another hinge, we can clearly see it right here, onto some more armoured panels and then half steel blocks. If you were to come underneath it and take a look like so, that's how that's been set up. So we've got a nice big surface area so we won't tip over while walking this thing around. And we can see how the bottom of the main body has also been protected up. We're going to come around and behind it, that is what that looks like. So we can see it once again, some more steel blocks. We can clearly see our rotors of how our legs are going to be moving around. Then over to this part, we then got a hydrogen thruster to help stabilise this thing, as well as help move it uphill. Coming up to the back where our arms are being connected up, we've got a bunch of cylindrical columns that come across on some rotors. This is how we're going to keep this thing stable with our mouse. We have a hydrogen thruster just below some barred window blocks, which is how we're going to fuel our hydrogen thruster. Then moving slightly forwards, there is our guns and how they've been set up. So we've got some fantastic use of our neon tubes. We can see some unfinished hinges acting as the rear of our gatling guns, and there is our rotor for how we're going to move them up and down. If we were to look down at it like so, that's how that's been set up. Then looking at it on the side there, that is the gun and how it's been angled down, and there's the legs in all their glory. And there we go, that's a very brief look around the outside of the GTT-01. It looks fantastic with how it's all been set up, and it gets even better when we drive this thing around. So bringing up the HUD and hiding all the signals, there's some space pirates that I suppose we could go and visit. Yes, number one is going to be for our gatling guns to shoot them straight forwards, there we go. Number two is how we're going to angle our gatling guns. Now it's going to be very, very slight. Doing that, there we go, it just moves up to a level position, and then it moves down to be able to hit lower targets. Pressing number 3 and 4, this is going to be our walking sequence. So once again with the character, I'm going to zoom the camera slightly away, press number 3, we're now going to start moving forwards. It's not going to be the fastest thing in the world, but it is damn stable. Then in first person view, this is what it looks like. So we do slowly charge along, firing our gatling guns. This is why we can move this up and down, because it just helps out a little bit while this thing is walking around. Anyway, back in the third person view, I'm pressing number 4, this will come to a stop, but as you can see, it will not go back to its standby mode. This is why we have buttons 7 and 9. Pressing number 7, that's going to move the left leg back into its standby position. Pressing number 9 will also do that for the right leg, but if it is in standby mode like it is right now, that'll put it into its walking position. And back it goes. Pressing number 5, this is going to be for our hydrogen thruster just to help you out while moving uphill, or even just to help move up a hill without walking. Just putting that on and pressing spacebar, that is all we're going to get, so it's not going to be the fastest thing in the world moving up, but you could get some use out of this, especially while trying to move uphill. And that is the controls for the GTT-01. It's a bloody fantastic walking mech if you are looking for one in your world. But now I think it's time to push it to the limit by finding those space pirates and just walking into their territory and start blasting. And here we are, we're now traveling towards the evil space pirate outpost. I have very little hope of this thing surviving. I'm expecting a singular rocket to disable this thing, but it is still fun watching this thing bounce along as it goes towards its doom. And there we go, it's now going to start shooting us. I can now try to zoom in. We are hitting something in the distance. And there we go, like I expected, it got disabled very quickly. There goes the rocket launcher. I'm not too sure what happened there. Something went flying into the sky, and they're tearing this poor thing apart. It is trying its best still to walk, and that looks like it's been completely disabled, and now it's in tiny little pieces. And there we go. And I'll set myself to untargetable to hopefully stop all the rockets flying towards the screen. Now there's nothing remaining of it. But yes, like I said, that is pretty much it for the GTT-01. It's a lovely little walking mech if you are looking for one in your world. It's very nice, very simple to use, and very easy to control. So there'll be a link to it in the description below if you do wish to download it and play around for yourself. Highly recommend you do. And I'll be back with another video some point soon. Bye bye.